Because of the following special program, Private Benjamin will not be presented this evening.
Hello, everybody out there in beautiful video land. Welcome, as always, to Misti Media Live. I am Jay Hartman, CEO, Editor-in-Chief of Misti Media. With me is my dear friend and talent beyond belief, Miss Linda K. Hardie, author and editor, and Jane of many of trades. Or is that, if you're a jack of all trades, is it Jill of all trades?
That's what I've heard is the Jill.
Okay, so not a Jane, but a Jill. I'm coming to you from the Misti Media Studios in Las Vegas, Nevada, where it is currently 108 degrees because the world hates me. And Linda is coming to us from her undisclosed location in northern Nevada,
where it's 99 degrees.
Wow, you're just lucking out with it's so much cooler than here.
I know. Just break out the sweaters. It's 82 in the house though.
Hello to Michael, Linda. This is our good friend Michael here from Angry Outer Music. Michael says, "I'm having flashbacks to my childhood moment." Yeah, you know, I have such a passion for those two intros. From my childhood, especially that HBO one, that I was like, yep, when we have the channel, I've got to include that. I've been tempted a couple times to pull it off, but trying to stick with it. Also joining us for the first time in the show today is Nazca Press author James Prosser. Welcome, James. We're really happy to see you. It's James's book is the one you saw in the thumbnail for the show today. That's his book, laying on the table next to the hammock, which absolutely like perfect summer read. Like just, crash out, sit in the shade, grab some your favorite tasty beverage, and have at it. His book is exactly what you should be doing. If you are watching on Facebook, hopefully I will be able to see your chats. I should have all of that fixed. Here's Regina. Hello, Regina. Regina saying hi to both of us. We love Miss Regina. So this was a show that we had originally planned on doing a Mother's Day and a Father's Day edition of this. And unfortunately, the Mother's Day edition happened was supposed to happen in the same time slot that we ended up basically doing Sandy's memorial.
And
so
there she goes, being the center of attention again.
Right? Like, I mean, leave it to her to think that her ideas are better. For those of you that are tuning in that might not know this story, Sandy was a very, very dear friend of ours. She was actually my best friend. We lost her unexpectedly at the end of April. She was also a very serious backbone to this company, and my right-hand woman. And it's been a challenge. It's been a challenge keeping everything moving forward and on a steady pace. But I'm thrilled that I've got Linda. I'm thrilled that I've got Walt and Joy over on the Nazca side, who've really had to pick up a bunch of extra duties to try to give me a hand. And the Misti Media family really stepped up and said, "Hey, anything you need, by all means, let us know." So we're getting there. We're getting back on pace. We've had some good releases lately, which some of those are going to come up in our discussion today. But so, in my family, Linda, I don't know about yours. My family were not big readers. I was definitely the reader in the family. So the idea that I would be buying books for family would be kind of unusual. What about in your family?
We were all big readers. We were all very big readers. My dad always had a book, and my mom, and he loved hardbacks because they're heavy and they're sturdy, and he was always reading Donald E. Westlake mysteries out of the library, the Dortmunder series and stuff. My mom loved paperbacks because she would go through them so fast, and she wanted the ones that were like this thick, like historicals, and she would read one this thick like in 2 days. And that's when you say historical.
But when you say historical, you mean historical romance or historical fiction?
Mostly historical fiction. She wasn't big on the romance stuff, and historical romances weren't usually that big. They were usually like that big, not quite as big as the historical fiction, but yeah. And she read a lot of other stuff too, biographies of film stars and stuff. The very last gift I ever gave my dad before he died of cancer was a biography of Jimmy Stewart, the actor, because there are a lot of things about that actor that reminded me of my dad, and vice versa, and I knew that was something that he would like, because he also liked biographies and nonfiction. But yeah, he liked science fiction, because that's where I met and learned of Isaac Asimov and Ray Bradbury and all those golden age writers. And there was a period of time after my dad had died when my mom and I were both reading romances, Laverle Spencer.
Yeah,
we were reading those romances, and she was so popular. Her romances came out in hardback before they went to mass market, but we were paying that big bucks for the hardbacks, and
that was the time period. Yeah, that was the time period with like Amanda Quigley. There were.
This was the early mid 80s, like 80.
Yeah.
384-ish, somewhere in there.
Yep. So I got my degree in literature from Florida State, and I got Go Noles. Like I care about football. I am not that type of gay. Sorry, I don't follow. I don't follow sports ball. But I did an emphasis in minority literature, and what was really interesting was studying about what kind of books certain cultures, or what genres certain cultures or certain groups of people really enjoyed. And what was strange was, after I graduated, that's when I became a Walden bookstore manager, and there was just this insane, the only word I've got for it is sexism. that would go on for Mother's Day and Father's Day. So, when it came time for in-store promotion, let's see, Michael says Piers Anthony, he never gets enough credit.
Oh, yeah.
So true story, Michael, when I had Untreed Reads, my old publishing house, I actually reached out to Piers, and because I was trying to get him to come to us with a couple of his books, which he wasn't willing to do, but he gave us a really nice shout out on his own public media, which was really nice, and encouraged people to follow us. And Warren says he grew up reading his mother's Oz books. Oh, yes.
Yeah.
I still read those. But when it came time to merchandise in the store for the holidays, it would be, for Mother's Day, it was always romance books, cookbooks, and maybe gardening, right? Like, was the other thing, like this is all mothers want to read. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, the whole display was nothing but those genres. And it wasn't any better for Father's Day. For Father's Days, it was books on golf, barbecuing, sports, and all I ever got to thinking was, okay, not everybody does this. Not everybody.
I think I played more games of golf in my life than my dad did, and I played twice. I know I wasn't good. That's why I only played twice.
My dad was a history teacher, and eventually was working in the Orlando school system with computers and technology. I mean, and he wasn't much of a reader either, but certainly his interest did not lie in those areas, and it made me crazy thinking that why do we keep shuffling the same genres to people every year for these holidays? And then there's every kind of father, and I realize it's super easy to say, okay, let's just pigeonhole everybody into the same categories and do that. But the beauty of working in the publishing industry is, if you want to be successful, you have to know what's happening with your reading audience, and you have to know what's on trend, and you have to know what people are looking for,
and what people are really reading.
Correct. And I started investigating. When you and I started talking about these topics of the Mother's Day and the Father's Day, I started doing the investigation into, well, what are people really reading? And I got looking at basically 2025, 2026 information based on actual sales in bookstores, as well as Nielsen had done a big investigation into what people were reading. Nielsen IQ is what they were calling it. So the same people that do television ratings and to reach out to people for their feedback on top shows, they did the same thing, finding out what people were reading. And it's very interesting. I have that information here. Across every 2025 survey for male readers of all ages, mystery and crime and thriller, lumping those together, is the #1 category. Doesn't matter the age group, doesn't matter. That is the absolute #1, followed by history, with both of those far outpacing any other categories. And what's interesting is mystery and crime, that's it. It's not the first time. It's like consistently been, over decades, been the #1 category for male readers. And in some years, female readers as well.
And then there's the thrillers, suspense, spy novels, the little subcategories in there.
So
those are very heavy.
The way they do it, though, in their report, is they actually put mystery, crime, thriller together, which kind of makes sense. I mean, we do the same thing at White City Press. We don't have separate imprints for mystery, crime, and thriller. Although I would argue that when they're referring to this, they're not referring to true crime, because we'll see here in the charts that nonfiction actually comes under its own heading in terms of what's popular. So if we're looking at Gen Z and teen males, I realize they're not, please God, don't let them be fathers right now. But that age range does go 13 to 24. So, they're in today's day and age, in that age group. Actually, before we get into this, I need to do our usual reminder. This channel is not monetized in any way, shape, or form. We do not earn any money whatsoever from our videos. We ain't there yet. We don't have enough followers. We don't have enough views, none of that stuff. The only way we get paid is if folks buy our books. And they're down in the comments for the show, and then over there somewhere, pinned to the side, is our jot form for today. And in that jot form, you're going to find our recommendations for titles that we publish through our various imprints that are perfect for fitting into these best-selling categories for men. Just really good hot takes from our catalog. All of them are going to be $10 each with free shipping worldwide. So hard to beat that. And if you do buy direct from us, it means our authors earn more. We get to keep more in our pockets. Everybody comes out a little better. Of course, all of our books are available all over the world in ebook and in print. So, and available through most library systems. Do look for us through, if your library says that they do Overdrive, or if they do Hoopla, we should be available on either one of those, especially Hoopla. Take a look for us. If you just don't have the $10 to spend, that's fine. Every time you check out a book from the library, we're set up that we get paid per checkout. It's not a whole lot of money, but it adds up the more people that do it. So all we care is please read our stuff. Whether you buy it or check it out from the library, we don't care. Just read it and talk about it. If you would, we would appreciate that. And of course, like our videos and thumb up our videos and share them with everybody and annoy them at 2 o'clock in the morning. So heading back to our charts here, Gen Z teen males age 13 to 24. Number 1, crime and thriller. Number 2, fantasy and sci-fi, with book talk and social media driving all of those. Michael says Gen Z reads. Yep, absolutely. They do. And James actually works with that age group. He's an educator himself. But they do actually read, but it's very heavily driven by social media. They definitely are influenced by that.
And most of them are reading on their phones, and that makes my eyes and my brain hurt.
Here's the one that really surprised me, Linda. You'll never believe what's coming in at number 3 with Gen Z and teen males.
Yeah.
Self-help and personal development. I would not have thought that. And the title that's been leading that is Man's Search for Meaning, as well as other productivity titles. So I can see it not necessarily at the low end of that Gen Z at the 13 range, but at 24, you're out of college. You might have your first job. You might be trying to balance your life, or trying to figure out what it means to be a man in today's society, especially with some of the stuff that's the ugliness that's spread online about. I just thought that really interesting that in that age group, self-help would pop up.
Yeah.
Number 4 for that age group is horror. It says strong engagement, especially via online communities. And the number 5 one for that is graphic novels and manga, which doesn't surprise me at all. Graphic novels.
I know I know a lot of young people that read lots of graphic novels and manga.
Oh yeah, and I mean, you've really seen the sections in the bookstores grow for that. I mean, I remember when in my day at Walden Books, there was no such thing as that category, really. I mean, you had to go to special import stores to get those kind of books. Now it's a giant section when you walk into Barnes and Noble. I mean, it's
I've got a funny anecdote about graphic novels. I was on the board of the Friends of the Washoe County Library, and we were doing during our annual disbursement of funds to the various library branches. And I remember one library, a bunch of libraries actually, had asked for X, Y, and Z graphic novels. And some of the really old people, older than me even, on the board were going, graphic novels? Oh, no. No, they're not X-rated stuff. And I went out, we were in a library meeting room, went out and I got a handful of graphic novels off display. And I said, this is what they are, like comic books, but they're bound. Oh, okay. And they really get kids reading. Oh, okay. The library's got their money on that. But graphic, X-rated.
Yeah, you know. And hello to Mark joining us from the Facebook side. Yes, you can annoy me anytime, Mark. You know I love you. You know, it's funny. Your anecdote really brings back memories because I remember when I was working in the children's bookstore, the Reading Bug in San Carlos, California, and it was parents were there was sort of like this backlash against manga because they were like, oh, it's comic books, and that's not really reading. And I was like, let me tell you, anything that gets your kid to read, if it doesn't matter if it takes pictures, and my argument was always there's a phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal graphic novel called Mouse, Maus, that is the story of I guess supposedly YouTube you can't say the N-word, that N-word.
Or we could say it's a story of
well, it's the Holocaust. I mean, it's basically the Holocaust and Hitler's Germany, but told in graphic novel form from the point of view of the characters have been anthropomorphized, if you will. But I mean, to me, there's always been anything that gets a kid to read. Which Michael adds, they're so overwhelmed by media blast and lived through some big events. They're looking for purpose.
Okay.
And then,
yeah.
And then Jim, who teaches kids, says social media has stripped a lot of these kids of identity. They have no idea who they are or supposed to be, which sadly is really true. They're looking at people online to kind of show them who, and there's some really, really bad examples out there. So let's move up to the next age group, which is 25 to 44. That's millennial men. So again, number one, crime and thriller. Top fiction genre for all under 45 male readers. Number two, again, self-help and popular psychology surpasses all other nonfiction competitors. Nielsen Q called it a top category for men under 45. Number three, now this one I thought was interesting because normally I see this in Boomer. Number three is history and military, and that's a category that's been kind of crashing over time. So it was interesting seeing this coming back. It says it's a strong performer, especially mid-range millennials, 35 to 44.
Well, some of them have been in wars because we have had.
That's true.
Had wars,
that's true.
And so, yeah.
I guess in my head, and again, because it's my age, I keep thinking that we've moved so far along the timeline now that the relevancy to today's reading audience of things like World War II or Vietnam really doesn't land because there's so much distance now between.
There's Afghanistan.
Yeah, I mean, it's the equivalent of
and Iraq.
Yeah, I mean, it's the equivalent of when I was in school. Like, if you were talking about the Korean War, like that just seems like ages ago. Like that was never in my time, or and now I guess it's that thing. The timeline has shifted. That still Vietnam still seems somewhat relevant to me, but you can tell that looking at other readers, boy, that just drops off. Number four, science fiction. There's Jim's category right there. Number five, this I was happy to see. Number five, general fiction and literary fiction. Growing especially in print format. Men under 45 increased print fiction purchases in 25 and so far into 26. And then number six, absolutely no surprise. This one seems to always show up in this age range: business and finance.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just consistently. Let's see. According to Nielsen Q, men under 45 were among the only demographic to increase print book purchases year over year. Self-help popular psychology was a standout for this group specifically. Also interesting, men under 45 shifted away from nonfiction audiobooks and toward print. That would also make them the only demographic moving away from audiobook. I find that very, very interesting. Because audio, everybody's been toting that audiobook has been, audiobook is to reading what vape is to like cigarettes in the smoking world. Like, everybody's advanced on to the next big way to get your fix. And, I kept hearing that audiobook was everything. And then, you can't argue with data. And then you get to my people, early boomers, and Gen X, or actually, I guess that's late boomer men, not early boomer, and Gen X. Number one, crime and thriller, which we said. Number two, autobiographies and biographies. Notably higher preference among males 45 to 84 than any other group. I gotta say, I'm 53 now. And I will agree. If given the opportunity, I will pick up a good biography or an autobiography as a first reading choice over fiction. I got
some recommendations for you.
Ooh, good. We'll come back to those.
Yeah.
Number three for this is history and military. That's about right. That's where we've been seeing it slip. Number four, fantasy. And number five, science fiction. I was a little surprised that horror only shows up in Gen Z and doesn't show up in a top five category. I would have thought Gen X, with us all growing up on like really great horror movies, I would have thought that would have been up there, but it wasn't. Let's see. Michael says millennials grew up through the Gulf War and it's part of their cultural makeup. Yep.
Yeah.
And then adds millennials and Gen Z are interested in unplugging. They're bringing back CDs, LPs, DVDs, cassettes, VHS. They have a fascination with the Gen X culture. Yeah, they're more tangible things, more experiences over than anything else.
And you can't have you can't have this kind of media just sucked off your device without your permission.
Yeah, or have Amazon announce that 12 different versions of Kindle are now no longer, you can't buy books anymore for 12 different versions of Kindle. Don't even get me started on that one.
The hundreds and hundreds you have, nope.
I told Linda today, I was like, I want to keep this as positive as possible, but I'm like, I'm still seething about the whole Kindle thing, which is just absolutely, I mean, my dad uses a Kindle. Like, what is everybody supposed to just go out and buy a new Kindle now? But I'm getting off topic.
Okay.
Number three is history and military. Number four, fantasy. Number five, science fiction. And number six, and I can understand this, general nonfiction with an emphasis on current events.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, normally we're the I don't care genre, the I don't care group, but. And the overall notes from Nielsen says, Nielsen IQ explicitly flags that male consumers aged 45 to 84 are disproportionately drawn to autobiographies and history and military compared to all other groups. That's really interesting because that's what used to be said about the boomers. So and when I worked for Walden Books back in the day, absolutely. Like I could not keep enough history and military stuff in stock. That was absolutely my top category with men. But I was really surprised to see that, unless it's that, supposedly me growing up, I guess, if I had grown up with somebody where my dad was into military and history, then, maybe I would be reading it because he read it. But I was really, that one was really kind of surprising to me. And then for the boomers, unfortunately, it doesn't look that different. Crime and thriller, history and military, autobiography and biographies. This one was interesting, general fiction and classic fiction. This is one of the few times that classic fiction shows up. Older adults read more books per year than younger adults, according to a survey from YouGov in 2025. Science fiction but specifically classic and legacy science fiction in the boomer. So not necessarily discovering new science fiction, but reading the classics. And this is also the only time that this category comes up. Number 6 is Westerns and Adventure. And I'm really sad to not see this one be a bigger category. Over the years, I've published some really great stuff in the Westerns category. It's still, and there's been some really great crossover stuff with like Western and mystery. And it's a shame not to see better of that. So YouGov said adults 65 and over read more books per year than any younger cohort. Mystery and crime for the boomers was the #1 genre overall in 2025, with history coming in second. Men are the largest nonfiction consumers. Across all ages, men purchase more nonfiction than women do. The fiction gap is narrowing. Men under 45 increased fiction purchases significantly in 2025. This one does say, and it could just be that, for the one other age group, it's the exception. Audiobooks are growing for men. Male consumers across age groups buying more fiction audiobooks. Under 45 men under 45 shifted away from nonfiction audio. So they're looking to experience it differently. Self-help surging for younger men, particularly 25 to 44, tied to personal development, culture, and influencer-driven recommendations. And then good news for our author, Reich Spoor, and for the folks over at our Nazca Press imprint. Fantasy is rising broadly. 2025 purchase data shows fantasy growing, with older men and younger men both engaging. So there you go. That's where the trends are. And I think, we'll probably get this posted up, this list posted up into our blog over on our Misti Media website. I think it's a great reference for people to be able to take a look at. So today, I shared that list with Linda, and you guys know, if you've been following us, that we kind of have a thing here that we do, which is and it started out. It didn't even start out with us planning it, but it just the show sort of evolved into it, where I kind of come at things from the publisher angle, and the recommendations from our own house, and Linda comes at all these things from the writer author angle, and her own recommendations of what she's read, or what she knows is award-winning or popular, so that she can bring recommendations to the people that watch the show. We're not about only supporting Misti Media. We're about making every boat rise. There is no competition in publishing, especially in the small press range. We are all about supporting. Every small press wants every other small press to succeed. We want every publisher to succeed. We don't want Amazon to succeed, but from a publisher standpoint, we want the publishers to succeed. So if there's anything that we can do to help raise awareness of really great titles that are out there that people should be reading, we're going to do that regardless of who the publisher is. Whether we're not making any money off of recommending anybody else, but we don't need to. Our hope is that in return they'll take a look at our stuff and find ways to work with us to promote things. So I have talked enough for a while. I'd like to give Linda, tell us some of the recommendations you've got for folks on these genres that we've picked up now that we know that these are the top genres that guys are looking at. I realize we're less than a week away, from Father's Day. Makes it hard to order in time, but hey, there's ebooks that are immediately deliverable. Tell me,
and your local bookstores. I mean, here in Reno, here in Northern Nevada, we've got like 8 or 10 small indie bookstores these days. They're just popping up like mushrooms, and that's really good news.
Or your public library.
Another library, yeah. I do have a lot of the mystery thriller books to recommend, because I do write reviews for Kings River Life, which is a wonderful publication online, and I don't get paid for them. I just get books to read, and like 99% of the books that I have read for this land up there in the best book I ever read category. One of them that I did recently is you're talking about American versus other nations. Guilt by Heigo Higashino. I'm not good at Japanese stuff. Anyway, huge bestseller guy from Japan, and this is his latest one in the US too. I really enjoyed it, and it's so interesting to read from a different culture. And look how thick that is. It was a really interesting book. I mean, and you can go to Kings River Live, plug in my name, and it'll bring up all my reviews, and you can read my entire review about it. One interesting thing about this is seeing the culture, and the male versus female dynamics are a little bit different, and the police work is a little bit different, because this is about a scene from the viewpoint of a detective looking for the murderer, but it's also seen from the viewpoint of the kids of the murderer and the victim, the adult children, and very interesting. And I think one thing that we need to find a way to encourage more boys and men to be reading fiction that gives them more of an idea of different lifestyles, because in many cases our society is so stratified that everybody knows what, this is what my life is like and what my social media life is like, and I don't know anything else. And we learn our empathy by reading books about people in Japan, people in other countries, people different from us in our country, and things like that. Talking about
that's a good recommendation.
Talking about the military, reading military stuff. A friend of mine wrote this book, Seeing Daylight. Technically, it's a young adult book, but it's really something. It's a young adult book because the main character is 19 years old, and he got injured. He was a Nevada boy from a tiny little Nevada town that she made up, like in the Winnemucca area. And he got injured in the Iraq War, traumatic brain injury, and lost one of his hands, and all sorts of issues, and coming back and trying to become a functioning human being again. And this is the sort of thing that looks at real issues that a lot of people face. When I taught English comp at the university, a lot of students would say, I'd say, here, I'm assigning reading. Here, read this. I can't relate to that. It's different than me. And, you need to learn to relate. But, this is something that, there were a lot of people, a lot of families that were impacted by these wars.
I want to jump in, though, with a recommendation from our catalog, because it piggybacks perfectly on that release. So, stupid camera.
Your camera doesn't want to show anything that's not human. God knows why it is showing you, but
okay, I give up. But it's in the job form. It is in the job form that is linked below in the just below the. Just below the description. The book is called Edison 64: A Tragedy in Vietnam and at Home by Richard Sand. It was a top choice book review award winner. It won the gold medal from the Military Writers Society of America. And it was the winner of the Independent Press Award for nonfiction. It is the story of a school in, I want to say it's Philadelphia. Oh, there we go. That's a little better.
See it for a moment.
I can't show you the back cover because Zeke chewed it off. But it's about a school where most of the senior class men were shipped off to war in Vietnam and were all killed. And it's the biggest It was the biggest single loss to any school anywhere in the country of men in Vietnam. So like, yeah, you've got the guys that died, but this was one specific school that lost almost an entire graduating class in Vietnam. So I mean, it's a stellar read. The other one is one that we just published, which I think is really, really important book. It's called, and that one's also in the jot form. It's called Hidden History. As a matter of fact, it's so fresh, I haven't even received my copy yet. It's called Hidden History, the Donut Dollies in Vietnam. And the Donut Dollies were a branch of the Red Cross nurses that were sent out into the field to take care of men and to also be sort of kind of like a USO, sort of like an entertainment kind of thing. But what's really sad about their story is there was a TV show many years ago called China Beach, which depicted them all as being basically prostitutes and whores and didn't really tell their story the way it should have been. Their story's never been told accurately. This book, Hidden History, is actually from the women's point of view. We've actually reached out to the surviving dollies. We got their story. We spoke to men that knew the dollies and served with them. But these women have never been granted veteran status. They all suffer from various forms of PTSD or Agent Orange poisoning. They can't get any medical help whatsoever from the government because they won't give them veteran status. We have people on Capitol Hill that are fighting for these women and who are big supporters of this book and getting the word out so that hopefully we can get the legislation passed to get these women recognized, all the surviving dollies. And they do, I mean, they're up there in age, but they are still going to VA centers and talking about what happened. And they're an amazing group of women. So again, Edison 64 and Hidden Histories are both in the jot form there. $10 each, free worldwide shipping. Back to you, Miss Linda.
And I didn't mention the author, my friend Suzanne Morgan Williams, and she published this herself because she had written a middle grade novel of this same family, but it was from the younger brother's point of view. The 14-year-old brother, who his 19-year-old brother comes back from the war damaged like this. And that book is called Bull Rider, because the family, it was kind of a family tradition that they all ride bulls in the rodeo, little rodeo pickups and things like that, and the rodeo competitions. But the younger boy, he wants to be a skateboarder and have skateboarding competitions. But his brother comes back damaged, and in his effort to try to help his brother not lose hope and try to actually survive, the boy starts riding bulls, which he's too young to do it. But that book she won awards from like something like 15 or 20 different states, United States, where it was, won Young Reader Awards and stuff like that. It's just a wonderful book as well. That one was traditionally published from a big press, but they weren't interested in this one. And so she published it herself. And this one, carries on the story, and the boy this boy, the young man, gets a therapy dog to help him, because a lot of the veterans coming back, they from the wars in like Afghanistan and Iraq, a lot of them were taking place in towns and cities, not like Vietnam where it was all jungle.
Right.
And the men come back and it's different. Okay, but you come back where you've been fighting in cities and towns, and you look around and you're in a city and town, and so you're expecting danger everywhere. It's a whole different experience. And Susie talked to like 1 million veterans and groups, and had people read it, and it got the real deal. It's just an amazing book.
What are your top 1 or 2 science fiction recommendations?
That's a really hard one, because science fiction has really broadened out. It's kind of like a river turning into a delta, because and you know your figures show that with the who was it? Was it the boomers or was it the Gen X? Anyway, the ones that read classic science fiction, because
That'd be
back
the
then it
boomers,
was, you know, you had all the golden age white male writers, and then when it started broadening out, John Scalzi, he is a great writer, and I kind of lost track of a lot of the science fiction because because of this move, and I haven't picked it up yet. One of my favorite science fiction writers is Susan Palwick, who happens to be a friend of mine.
Yes.
She's a Midwest author that lives here in northern Nevada, and has all sorts of really character and emotion driven stories.
Well, my recommendation for Sci-Fi is our own Jim Prosser, who is published over through our Nazca Press imprint. Jim had started out self-publishing, and all cards on the table. Jim and I went to high school together, and I've always known he was a creative type. We lost track of each other over the years, and then reconnected, and then I discovered he was an amazingly talented author, and I couldn't wait to snap up his series. And we have a lot of books coming from him. We're in the middle of doing like a lot of just doing the typical polish and new covers and all that sort of thing. But Resolute Command we released a few months back, which is the first book in the War for Terra. And I gotta say, the boomers that like that classic science fiction feel, but for the people that are of a more modern generation that want a little bit more up to date with their space opera and their space exploration and their space military action adventure. This is where Jim excels. He's found a way to write a book write a series that manages to appeal to both age ranges. So whether you're somebody who really likes the feel of the classic tropes of science fiction, or you're somebody who wants something with a more modern twist that feels a little more Star Trek, or feels a little bit more relatable, a little bit more, written more from like a 20th, it's futuristic, but it has 20th and 21st century sensibilities to it. So that's more relatable to today's reading audience when you read it. I struggle with myself reading older science fiction, classic science fiction, because there's something about it that just feels very almost too cerebral and written over my head. And this is what I love about Jim's book Resolute, because it is a book that I got into so easily, and was able to just enjoy the whole entire thing. And Jim says I try to write character-driven sci-fi fantasy types, and that he really nails it. It is truly character-driven. So that's in our jot form down there as well, if you folks want to take a look at that. And from a fantasy standpoint, we just released Reich E. Spore's re-released his Princess Holy Aura, which is the first book in a series. And there is like gender swapping and superheroes and all kinds of cool stuff, originally published by Baen Books, and now we're fortunate enough to be his new publisher, and with a sequel coming out to that book very, very shortly that his Kickstarter fans have been waiting for a very long time.
Well, you mentioning Star Trek and then mentioning gender swapping, that brought up one of my all-time favorite authors, who is still writing, and he's like older than me. The man who created Tribbles, David Gerald.
Oh, David Gerald's terrific.
Yeah. And he's still writing, and he has had several book series and all sorts of stuff. It was always a mid-list author, which they don't get any respect.
And it's such a shame. He is so good. He's really,
and he's
really good.
and he's written not only novels for adults, and he's got one, and I can't think of the name of it, but there's this one where the character in there is going back and forth into the future and the past, and keeps changing reality and meeting different versions of himself, herself, their self, and it's just mind-blowing. And I've got to read it again because I read it before I knew anybody who is trans and non-binary, and it's like, wow. And
David Gerald has gotten so little credit, and he's behind some of the most famous episodes of some of your favorite shows that you have just absolutely no idea that he's the man behind it. I mean, the guy is just ridiculously talented. I have said for years that I would take him in a heartbeat if I ever had the chance to publish him. He is truly amazing.
Yeah, and he's written young adult and middle grade stuff, and beautiful. But that's one of them too. That's one of my favorite.
So the one category I know that's easy for you and I, super easy, because I mean we lean towards it, and Sandy did too. Mystery crime thriller.
I got stacks.
I was gonna say we could sit here for days with recommendations, but can you give us just like one, or since we're starting to run low on time, can you give us like one or two of your favorites?
This is one. Maybe I'm not supposed to show this. This is one that I am reviewing for Kings River Life, and my review is due soon, so it can come out during Pride Month. But this, Beneath a Broken Sky, Joshua Moling. This is fourth in his series. Let me see. Yeah. But anyway, it's about this deputy sheriff in a small Minnesota town named Ben Packard, and he's gay, and he's struggling in this small town. Because I haven't read the first two yet, but when I started reviewing them with number 3, and this is number 4. But he started out, closeted, but he had to come out, and now he's kind of semi, not advertising it, but everybody knows, and so there's a lot of angst and a lot of soul searching, and there's a lot of, from this character's point of view, he's looking at other men, and so what is a man? What makes up a man? And that sounds, kind of like intellectual and literary, which it kind of is, but it's still just a damn good read. The writing just it's so good. It's so good. I'm actually in a mystery writers group that he's a member of. And every time he posts something, I just fangirl and I think, oh, I want to reply. and then I'm just too, I can't do it. He's and anyway, but the books, there's so much depth to them, and yet they're not like hard, dense reads.
Right.
They read like popcorn books, and yet you walk away going, thinking about stuff. Another one that I really love is someone that was a friend of Sandy's, Ellen Byron. This is not the latest one.
Ellen, yeah.
A very woodsy murder. This is the first one in her Golden Motel mystery, which is kind of the cozy mystery genre. And that was number 1. They take place in a motherlode gold town. Wow, my brain just went on vacation. Anyway, like in California's gold country, made up town though. But it's this woman who is a TV screenwriter, and she has some problems, chucks it all, and she goes and she buys this rundown little inn in this gold country town, and she buys it and runs it with her first ex-husband. She's twice divorced. Her first ex-husband and current best friend. And so the personality dynamics of that are just amazing. Having being exes like that, and yet now they're best friends, right, and they're business partners. And it's just, and I mean, the kind of stuff that Sandy wrote and Sandy liked.
Yeah.
lot of humor here, a lot of slapstick humor, a lot of just, very intelligent humor that's accessible. And and there's a bear. They're up in the woods, so there's a bear, and the bear is a big deal. But it's a great book, and she just has I think the third one comes out next month. Yeah. Book 3 comes out end of July. So I got to catch up because I haven't read number 2 yet. But that's another one that is really good. And she's written like, I don't know, 400 different series.
Yeah.
There's I think it's, what is it? The Vintage Cookbook series and
she's got a lot of them.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. I've got 2 recommendations. And again, that actually came up. Michael was right. Hold it closer to you.
Oh yeah.
Janie's Got a Gun, crime fiction inspired by the music of Aerosmith. I have loved for ages, thanks to Josh Pachter kind of getting me into it a long time ago. This anthology was edited by Michael Bracken, who is an absolute sheer short story genius. It's who he is. It's what he does. He just got done doing his annual ShortCon conference where he and a couple other people took the time to teach authors how to write short stories.
I wish I could go to that.
Me both. We were a sponsor at least, but I didn't get to go. But Janie's Got a Gun, again, all crime fiction based around Aerosmith songs. So and they're all in here. I mean, Dream On, Sweet Emotion. They don't necessarily take the lyrics exactly as is, but they're all certainly inspired by the songs. Just one book in a very, very large series we have called Music and Murder. We have a bunch of anthologies that are based on the music of Barry Manilow. Peace, Love, and Crime is the music of the 60s. Lunatic Fringe, One Hit Wonders. Gag Me with a Spoon, music of the 80s. Oh, this is awesome that you have it all sitting there. That's great. There's Killing. I still love that cover for Killing at the Copa.
Yeah,
that's the Barry Manilow one.
And
the original.
Here's one that I'm not in, and I even have it here.
Yeah, that I Just Died in Your Arms. That was the original One Hit Wonder crime anthology. The other book I want to throw out there, because I think a lot of I have been publishing this series now nonstop for 15 years, and I'm not even the first publisher. That should tell you how strong this series is. This book is I, Claudia, by Marilyn Todd. Marilyn Todd is a freaking legend in the mystery writing world. This is historical mystery that takes place in ancient Rome. Claudia is a prostitute, but she's also determined to claw her way to the top, even if she has to marry, a rich guy to do it, and constantly coming across crimes. We just finished the full republish of this series, which I'm very excited about. There are 13 books in this series. So if you end up falling in love with it,
you're going to bankrupt me, Jay.
The ebook version, I believe, is 99 cents for the first book, because we always believe in discounting the first book in the series.
Get us hooked.
But she is just, this series has, again, it's pretty much never been it hasn't been out of print for the last 15 years. And I remember when we picked it up originally way back when, it hadn't been out of publication that long either. Plus, she's got short story collections. She has another series that's a lot more serious that takes place in ancient Greece. That's a 3-book series that we just finished repubbing this month, or the end of last month. We got all of the repubs out on that one. So very excited that Marilyn's got that stuff, and we have more stuff coming from Marilyn, which is great. She's always been one of my best-selling authors. People just absolutely love her stuff. So Linda, somehow we managed to make it through that, and on time. I don't know how we managed that one.
I'm amazed. I still have like this many books over here, but I'm waist deep in books in here.
But again, just a reminder, folks, if you could make sure to hit that thumbs up. We would really appreciate it. It helps other people find us.
And subscribe.
And, the more people that find us, the better. Music here. Our theme song is composed by a gentleman named Ashutosh. The song is called Peru. So we're very happy to be having this theme music as part of our show. Again, the jot form is down there below the description of the show. All prices are good through June 30th at 1 p.m. Pacific time. That's when Linda and I start making sure we've got everything together for the next show, which means the jot form gets replaced with whatever titles we're going to be featuring next time. And we're still discussing what that next show will be. Sometimes it's a surprise to us. Linda, tell the folks, got anything special going on right now?
Just finished the book fest here. I've just been so busy with the election and everything, because I've always been an election worker, being a manager at the polls, and that's always a busy season. We just had our primary. I haven't had a chance to really think, and trying to get back to writing, and but I am working on my mentorship with a gentleman that wrote a wonderful. We're not sure if it's a middle grade or a chapter book yet. He's still working on the depth of it, the page number, and the word count. But historical. So that was really great, and that's something I love doing is working with people, with writers that are just figuring out where they're going and what they need. So that's a big thing, right?
And please do take a look down in the notes. We do have a link to Linda's author page over with us. You can take a look at everything Linda appears in that we've published, and we would really welcome, of course, you picking up any of her stuff, because otherwise she starts crying, and it's really sad, and we just don't really know how to deal with that around here very well. As for me, I will be on the Reseller Train Shop Hop on the 27th. My guest is yet to be determined. Then it's going to be probably a break for us for the Shop Hop for a while. They changed the date and moved things up half an hour, which makes it really difficult for me because of the day job. So we may not be able to participate in the Shop Hops moving forward. We're trying to see if we can figure that out. Regardless, Lynn and I will both be back on the 30th with our next Misti Media Live. And so we sincerely hope that all of you will be here and join us for that. Please do share out our show. Tell your friends, tell your neighbors, telegram, telephone, tell everybody. And that pretty much does it here from all of us. So go out, read something really great this week, come back, tell us all about it. Linda, thank you so much. Hugs and love to you.
Yep, thank you, Jay. Always a fun time.
And we'll see you folks on the next one.